Welcome to the Zoologist's Campfire, the podcast where animal professionals share their best stories. Today, Professor Miquel Arnedo from the Institute for Research on Biodiversity of the University of Barcelona joins us around a crackling fire to share some of his many adventures. Miquel is an evolutionary biologist who studies life's incredible diversity by investigating isolated ecosystems, such as islands and caves. He focuses on spiders to understand the threads that make up the web of life. Miquel's research has taken him around the world, and his findings have been published in hundreds of scientific papers. Miquel, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Ari. How are you?
I'm
Thank you
good,
for
I'm
having
good.
me today.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you. It's nice to have a fellow arachnologist. So, before we get into your stories, I know you have some. Um, I know that you are particularly interested in spiders, and I can completely imagine that. Of course, I love spiders as well. But what is it that you love so much about spiders?
Well, actually, once I reach that point, I would say everything. But the funny thing is that sometimes people ask me about that. If there was kind of like a long life love for spiders. I guess some of my colleagues, maybe yourself. I mean, you started as a kid, kind of going to the field and getting like all obsessed with spiders, with bugs in general. I have to say I was not like that. I mean, when I was a kid, I loved nature, but I was not a somebody who will go and collect and have all the his room full of all these bugs all over. I actually got interested into spiders once I started my PhD. When
Hmm.
I was looking for a topic, at that time I was really interested on phylogeny and evolutionary biology. So I was really ready to work with any organism that offered me the opportunity to work on phylogenetics. And it happened at the time that there was this professor, Carlos Rivera, who is a spider specialist as well. He had this project, to study this group of spiders in the Canary Islands from an evolutionary standpoint. So I just joined him in that research. And once you started with spiders, I have to say there is no way out. Like basically that, and then you absolutely fall in love with them. They're amazing creatures, and
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, like the last 30, 35 years of my life, I've been fully devoted to spiders. So
Yes,
no way back.
and traveling everywhere, climbing mountains and going down into caves
Right,
and
right. Lucky. I've been so lucky, to have the opportunity to do yeah, a lot of field work in very different places. Yeah, as you were mentioning in introduction, I didn't particularly focus on isolated systems, mostly islands, but also mountaintops.
mhm.
But I also had the opportunity to join other colleagues in other trips and different places. I mean, basically, every time I have the opportunity to to join somebody to go to the field, and I have the less and less time for doing so, I always try to join in.
Yeah. Once you get big and important, you get to do less and less actual research.
Yeah, that's a sad story. But we shouldn't say that because otherwise, all the young generations will have to follow us.
Well, they can change it probably. And you're
Right.
taking a lot of students with you in the field as well, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, most of the field work actually is always associated to funded projects, and most of the times this project also involves PhD students or master students or even undergrad students, and I guess part of the training we offer is basically taking them to the field as well, and getting them
Uh,
to learn, basically how to, I mean, all the procedures, all the methods, which are basically focused on field work.
right. And so you've had some adventures, and you've thought about your some of your best ones today. I'm really
Yeah.
curious. So let's start with with your first story. Where did it happen? What were you going to do
Yeah.
there? What was the plan?
Uh, yeah, I try to like kind of like take samples from different moments in time and in different places as
Hmm.
well. One story. Well, I mean, I don't know how fun is that, but I mean, at that moment, that was both terrifying and also and laughable. That was actually we're doing a field work. That was actually one of the first international congresses I I joined, and that was we're talking about 2001, so, right,
Uh-huh.
like more than 20 years ago. And that was the International Congress of Technology in South Africa in Bad. And because it was such a long trip. At that time, I was postdoc in Hawaii, so it was basically crossing the half the world to go there. So I thought that it would be also after doing all this trip to spend some time then collecting. So I joined a group of alpha technologists that were planning to do some field work there, and because that was my first time in sub-Saharan Africa, I thought it would be a good opportunity to get to learn a little bit the spider fauna there. So I joined them, and we actually, it was an amazing trip. We spent like a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, collecting all over.
South Africa is so amazing country, right?
Oh no, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. In terms of such a different ecosystems, and well, I mean, being born and raised in Europe, really, I mean, it's difficult for you to imagine that you can be surrounded by things like that at any time it can eat you or like just basically like crush you, So it's kind of an experience. And at that particular time, we were actually visiting this nature reserve. It was called Saint Lucia. There was a wetland not far from Durban, and and that was my first encounter with this usually like kind of like kind of, at least in the cartoons for kids, these are always happy animals that are hippos, hippopotamus. Remember we were actually taking this guide. We were actually collecting in some in this wetland forest, and the guy just kind of like stresses that hippos are not like can be very, very dangerous, especially when they are on land, because they're very short-sighted, and when they hear some noise, they basically kind of like run into you. But they also can be very nasty when they are in the water, especially if you kind of like bothering them with a boat or something. So anyway, so he basically was giving us some hints, about what to do, when not to do, some tips. And basically we had to take this boat, this very basic boat. Basically, it was a very narrow boat, kind of like old-fashioned canoe. So basically, I think we were 5 people, one after the other in a line, and we were basically crossing this river to go to this island that was like in the middle of the river to collect there.
Of course, yeah.
So basically, we're like going with a boat with this guide, and he actually points, a herd of hippos, nearby. And all of a sudden, the hippos, I mean, after actually we got these tips, be careful with hippos, these hippos start like to disappear, they start to like sink, to go underwater and disappearing from our view. Yeah. And I was really uneasy. And all of a sudden, this boat got stuck into a sandbank. Okay. And so we basically had to jump outside the water, into the water, and try, to reduce the load of the boat and try to move the load, and like walk, carrying the boat through, I would say, maybe 50 meters. And, that experience of doing that with the hippos disappearing like just 100 meters from you, that was quite experience. Nothing happened, I have to say. But, that I had the time of my life. So when we arrived to the island, I was the happiest person ever. So that was kind of, at that time it was terrifying, but then we were thinking about that. It was kind of fun. But that was,
I mean, if they would have stayed at the surface, you know where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
At least you can spot them. You're right. Yeah, but they disappeared just at the time where actually you have to sink, you have to jump outside the boat. So that was not a very kind of reassuring situation. But anyway, we survived that. It was just I mean, I kind of like to think about that time because that was my first introduction, with like real wild big animals, Yeah. I mean, in Europe, basically the only thing that can kill you is probably another human. But in these places there are real big animals out there, and it's a kind of, again, it's a funny feeling for somebody who is not used to that,
Yeah, and hippos kill more people than lions, I think.
Oh, absolutely. They rank the first, I think, in accidents with wild fauna in Africa. I remember other places that we go in this same trip. There was this. It was hunting a reserve, and actually in that place we had to go with guys with rifles because a week before a lion had eaten one of the visitors. So.
Ooh.
So yeah, so that's. I mean, I know. For me, I remember that time. I was quite young as well. And again, my first experience, like in a real kind of like place where you have like still like big animals kind of like roaming around freely, and that was I have some of these situations stick in my brain.
So you were happy to get the
like
island,
experience. Oh no, I was so happy, yeah. I'm in general happy to arrive to. I eventually have to go back, yeah. But at that time, the guide or the driver of the boat was careful enough not to get stuck in any sandbank, so that was okay. It was not a long distance. It just like happened to be very inconvenient sandbank we got stuck in. So, but anyway, that was kind of
Awesome.
I always remember that time, kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
both
So,
terrifying and
yeah,
fun.
yeah. And South Africa is just a gorgeous country.
It
It's
is.
I am looking
It is.
forward to go back
No.
one day. Yeah, it's
Yeah. No, me
amazing.
too. Me too. I have to say, I mean, I haven't. I mean, that's the only time I've been in South Africa. I never return again.
Uh-huh.
I would love to go back there because it
Hmm.
really was a great trip, really. Yeah.
But you
So
got
that
some
was
spiders on the island, I imagine.
we did, and that at that time, I mean, that was a kind of like general collecting. So I
Uh-huh.
mean, which is actually not so common for me because I mean, most of the times I do feel work to collect specific groups. We are working with most of our research is actually focusing particular groups. We're trying to understand the evolution of these
Yeah.
specific families of spiders. So most of the times we were going after something very particular. This particular trip was just like general collecting.
Hmm.
We're a mixed group of technologists with different interests. For myself, because I was actually at that time was funded by the University of Hawaii, and I was also working in the Vision Museum. It was just an opportunity to improve their collections of spiders from different places in the world. So I was basically getting any kind of spiders, so which is kind of fun as well because you get the opportunity to see a lot of different things. Most of the time I'm just like so focused in one particular group that I,
Yeah.
I cannot see anything else.
Yeah.
I've been collecting spiders, for example, I've done a lot of field work in the Canary Islands, and I've been
Okay.
like collecting. I mostly work in these families called these the red devil spiders
Hmm.
that they are ground dwellers. They're nocturnal usually. So basically, we collect them when they are kind of hiding from light, and they're usually under stones or under blocks. So most of the times I'm just like turning stones up, looking for spiders under stone. I've been in the Canary Islands with, turning up stones with like big lizards, this genus Galotia, like that. And
Yeah.
I couldn't see the lizard. I was just looking for the spider. And somebody else had to come and say, "Oh, there's a big lizard there. Oh shit!" So,
Don't bother me with the lizard. I'm looking for
yeah,
a little
exactly.
red
No, yeah,
spider.
remove it. Yeah, remove this lizard from here. But yeah. Most of the times I'm a little like that. I really narrow my focus a lot, and
Hmm.
I'm looking for very. And it's amazing how the human brain can only spot particular things when you are
Yeah.
only interested in these things.
Yeah. No, if you're looking for a spider, you just walk past a
Yeah.
snake or a lizard without even seeing it. It's
Right.
a
Well,
search
this
image.
this this is funny experiment where actually they show this video to people where actually people is dancing,
Oh yeah.
and all of a sudden a gorilla shows up, and people
Yeah.
cannot see it because I mean they're not paying attention to the gorilla, they're paying attention to
Y-
people.
Yeah,
So it's
no.
exactly like
I've
that.
done that. I did not see the gorilla.
No, absolutely. So yeah, so if you only want looking for one thing, you're only going to be able to spot that.
Yeah, and if you're bringing people in the field and they say, "Oh, he always finds the lizards and the snakes and the spiders," like, well, I can only look for one thing at a time, actually.
No, absolutely. Sometimes people
Yeah.
say, "Oh, you were actually collecting this place. Did you see this particular?" I didn't see anything else than my spider. Sorry.
Oh yeah, it's even worse with scorpions because you bring a scorpion light and they light up at
Oh
night,
yeah.
which is something great we have with
So
scorpions. You don't have any
yeah,
spiders, but you don't see any snakes. Um, that's the problem.
yeah. That's I have to say I have a problem with the snakes. Funny enough, I mean
Oh,
I can handle anything except snakes. I don't know.
really?
Yeah, have a very hard time with snakes.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I never got over that. I mean, I love it. I think they're amazing animals. But it's just I don't like to find them when especially, and again, because I'm like spending a lot of time turning stones up. It's not uncommon to find like snakes there.
Nope. No.
And in some places you really don't want to to find them unless you're actually after them.
Awesome. Well, you're making it sound pretty glamorous already. Hawaii, South Africa, Canary Islands. That's
Okay,
not
what
bad.
can I offer you now? Okay, that was it, that other story, and that was actually a little bit more less not so good memory, I have to say. So this time we were in Turkey.
Mm,
That was in 2006, I reckon. And again we were joining this party of people. We were actually doing mostly caves,
okay.
but at that time I was telling you before I was particularly interested in this group of this family of spiders, the red devils. This is the most Mediterranean family, so I've been trying to collect them all over. So I joined these people because actually they had the permit to collect in Turkey, especially around the Black Sea coast in the northern part of
Mm,
Anatolia. So it was at that time it was not such an easy place to go, and it was difficult to get a permit. So I was happy to be able to join these people. So we organized this trip, And we were basically, driving from Istanbul towards Ankara, and we just crossed, the the strait, and they were already on Anatolia, and then we said to go to this place where actually some of the people was supposed to do caving. So I was actually collecting outside, and again I was doing my work thing, going around, turning up stones, big stones, and this particular one. That was what we were about to leave. So basically, somebody said that he had enough. So he said, "Okay, guys, let's go to the next place." And of course, I had to turn up the very last stone. That was a huge stone. So I went there. I started, to try to turn this thing up, and all of a sudden, I mean, it was so heavy that it basically fell on me.
Oh.
Luckily, I was right at the border of kind of like an embankment, like in a steep, kind of like downhill. And me and the stone, we both go down, rolling.
Oh.
And that was amazing. I was feeling like, these cartoons of the wild coyote and the road runner, but that was basically like that. I was feeling like the wild coyote. I mean, was going down with a stone. I mean, literally, I couldn't get. Remove the stone from me. We were like one single unit going down the hill. Yeah, it felt like I was falling for like hundreds and hundreds of meters. Probably was just like 3 or 4 meters. But at that time, the time really goes very, very slowly. And unfortunately, at the very end, when we arrived at the base of the hill, I mean, the stone just fell into my hand, my left hand, and kind of squash it. Yeah. And two of my fingers, the little finger and the next one, they literally open, like a banana, like peeling a banana. So basically, you could see the bones through.
Oh.
So it was not a very nice a very nice view. So luckily, one of the guys in this group of people, he was trained like in first aid, and he basically, and he was amazing actually. He kind of like calmed me down because I was getting a little bit anxious because of the situation. So he basically wrapped up the fingers. Just imagine, the guy was cold enough to actually find my nail because one of the nails fell down. He collected the nail as well.
Ouch.
So wrapped the whole thing in.
Man.
And yeah, and we were like in the middle of nowhere. I mean, the thing was like bleeding like hell. And we were in the middle of nowhere, and we were about like 3 hours drive from Ankara. So basically, the guy said, "Okay, I mean, we go straight to Ankara because that really looks nasty, and you better find like a good hospital, to take care of that." So basically, we start driving. At that time, I was like basically hallucinating because I lost a lot of blood, of course. And but then the guys, they just, by the way while we were driving, they called to the Spanish embassy in Ankara. We were all a bunch of Spanish people. And the Spanish embassy looked for us a clinic, a hospital who was specialized on hands. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, there was this hospital which actually specialized in taking care of hand accidents. So we went straight there. Turned out the doctor there just came back from Barcelona. So the guy fell in love with the city. So he really gave me he treated me very well. And yeah, we just arrived there, and we went straight to the surgery room.
Yes.
And then I got like the full I got sleep completely. That was the only time in my life actually I got the full anesthesia. And then they kind of fixed the 2 fingers. They put the nail back. Actually, the guy was especially interested in the nails. It turned out to be a good thing because he told me that if without the nail, it's difficult to regrow the nail. So you have to have the nail fixed. So actually the cells at the bottom of it, they can regrow finally. So yeah, he actually it's the 2 fingers. They kind of put them back the right place.
Wow.
I was there for a couple of days. Yeah, and yeah. So, and after that, I still spent two weeks collecting there with one hand only. So I need somebody who helped me to turn up stones. Oh yeah. I was.
You went right back into the field after that.
Oh yes, yeah. After 2 days, we went back to the field. Yeah, and that was great actually because I need to get like some first aid. Well, basically, I had to go like every 2 days to some hospital to clean up and kind of like revise the stitches, and that was great. Actually, I have to say, I mean, at that time I really come to admire the health system in Turkey because any place we went, everything was kind of like subsidized by the states. It was free. It was also free for foreigners, so I really got the best treatment. But yeah, that was one of the I mean, I have to say, I'm going to touch wood here, but that was the only serious accident, let's say, I've had in the field, and I was lucky enough to keep like, you know, doing
Yeah,
the
yeah. I
collecting
mean,
afterwards. So.
falling with a big rock. I mean, it could have landed anywhere, right? Your hand is
Well, no,
fairly
no, absolutely,
reparable, but your head is a little bit more
absolutely.
important.
And on the top of that, I was lucky because at that time I was actually wearing several rings, like big
Ah,
rings,
I
and
see.
actually, the two of them, no, actually, the one in the second finger, I mean, it was completely squashed. It actually probably saved the finger. I had to say.
Really? Ah,
I still keep the ring. I should make something like a necklace or something like that. It's completely squashed, but it was,
yeah.
yeah, that was a saver. So yeah, that was one
Wow.
of the down stories I have.
No, no, it's good to know that things like this happen,
Yeah.
and the fact that you just went straight back to the field after that. Most people would go home, Mikel, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I at that time, and I'm still doing like that. I mean, I'm so um getting to that. I mean, to the field, but it's both in terms of the nature that of course I love, but also of the places. You know, one thing that really motivates me to go to the field, it's also the cultural part of it. You know,
Mm,
so and especially because I've been doing a lot of sampling in the Mediterranean. I really love this mix of nature, but also culture, kind of ancient remains,
yeah, there's
gastronomy,
a lot
food.
of old culture around the Mediterranean, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that really motivates me a lot. And at that time, Turkey is always a place that I have been obsessed with. I mean, I really
Mm,
love it. And that was the opportunity to go to the Black Sea coast, which is not so visited. Went to Jepson, some of the places where as a kid when I was reading books of travel books, always wanted to go. So yeah, that kind of like actually pushed me
huh.
to keep doing the field work even after the accident.
Oh wow, wow. Well, you may be pushing me to go to Turkey too, because I've never been, and it sounds
Oh, you should definitely go there.
it
It's
sounds
I mean,
amazing.
I will say, yeah, if I get lost, just go and look for me in Turkey.
Right, still love it even after it
Oh
part of
yeah.
Turkey crushed your hand,
Yeah, exactly. Well,
but your hand looks
they're not
pretty good
responsible. It
now.
was my actually. I have to say the only thing is kind of funny is that my little finger is kind of like pointy at the end now. It's not
I
missing, but
I
other
see.
than that,
Yeah, yeah,
it's okay. Yeah,
yeah. Even has a nail on it.
right. It's still happening. Yeah,
Well, awesome. Well, yeah, that's a good one. I mean,
that was
I
quite a
haven't
hit.
heard many that serious incidents with rocks. I mean, people always drop a rock
Yeah,
on their foot or something, or scratch a
yeah.
leg or something. But
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, no, I guess it's one of the downsides of working with spiders that have the habit of hiding under rocks, basically.
Yeah, well, scorpions too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But you guys take advantage of the fact that they're at night. You can see them and spot them at night, and then
Yeah.
for the time they are moving around. So that's good.
Yeah. It's also the more pleasant time to be around in those hot countries.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Do you also have
A good
the
match.
effect in the beginning we were doing field work without gloves. And then
Mm.
after a couple of days of turning sharp rocks, you have no more
Yeah.
fingerprints, right?
No, absolutely. Well, but that's absolutely like right. I mean, I've been trying then to use my finger my finger to open my phone. Remember the
Yeah.
time when they actually you were using that, and you cannot. I mean, it's just basically you lose all the fingerprints. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now we use gloves all the time. It's
Yeah,
much
no,
better,
that
but
makes sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're younger, I mean, you feel like nothing can destroy you, so you really
Mm.
don't care about anything. You get older and you have more experience. Say, okay, no, 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 I'm not gonna go through that. I have to keep what is left of myself. I have to take good care of.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's mostly around the Mediterranean and have you ever gone to any tropical countries for the spiders, or is that not
We did quite a bit of work. We had this project in Panama actually.
ah,
That was in 2008 and 2009. We did a couple of expeditions to the cloud forest in Panama,
wow. Yeah.
and that was quite an amazing experience. That's probably been together with South Africa, the northern parts of South Africa that was getting a little more tropical. That was one of the only tropical places where actually I've been doing like let's say professional collection of,
Mm,
of spiders, and that was amazing. The cloud forest in Panama is really crazy.
mm,
Panama, I have to say, has some of the best preserved tropical forests in Latin America, Central America for sure,
mm. Yeah.
and especially because of the Panama Canal. So basically, all the water we have to preserve all the watershed around the canal
Yeah.
because actually the water they get, to fill it up, it comes from the watershed. So they have to preserve all the forest around. But other than that, even like going all the mountain range, the dorsal range going up to Costa Rica, it's the mountain cloud forest is very well preserved. So that was amazing place to collect. Yeah, we did in this case we did some standardized collecting because basically we want to compare the spider communities in 4 different spots. So we actually have this kind of transect in 4 spots along the Cordillera, going from La Campana, which is more or less close to the canal, all the way close to the border with Costa Rica and the National Park La Amistad, which is a shared park between the 2 countries. And then we had like these 4 spots. We basically had these 4 spots that had plots of 100 by 100 by 1 hectare plot, and we did continuous collecting for I don't know altogether it was like we were like 6 people collecting for 5 hours a day for 3 days. So we did a lot of collecting. Yeah. So the idea was basically having like a complete inventory of the spiders community there. And that was a place that we had some like bad encounters with like serious snakes there. Yeah. So that was quite scary.
That's your favorite.
But other than that was a great experience. One of the places actually I love, I really like, and I've been lucky enough to visit several times, and that's going back to the island. Is the Juan Fernandez archipelago.
Where is that?
That's this is off the coast of Chile. It's right in front of Valparaiso, not far from Santiago. Yeah, it's about like 300 250 kilometers into the sea from Valparaiso. And these are mainly 2 islands. Robinson Crusoe and Alejandro Selkirk, which they're actually quite far apart. I mean, I think they're the closest to the continent, which is Robinson Crusoe, is about 250 kilometers, and then the 2 of them are separated by another 200 kilometers. So it's not really too close, a close archipelago. It's more like 2 islands, more or less isolated.
And these are oceanic islands.
Yeah, these are volcanic islands as well. I think Robinson Crusoe is about 3.5 million, and Selkirk is 1 million. And since 2000, I think we started there 2013. That's a project I've been doing with in collaboration with my good friend Gustavo Hormiga, who's an ornithologist. He was born in Spain, but he has done most of his career actually in the States. He's professor at the George Washington University. And we've done a lot of field work together, and we've shared some projects. And we started this project in Juan Fernandez in 2012, I think. And it's basically about the evolution of this group of spiders. They are ligniphids. They are dwarf spiders.
Yeah.
They are all over. I guess it's the most diverse spider family in terms of number of species and probably also general. They're all over, but this particular group, the Rigonines, they managed to colonize these archipelagos, and they undergone an amazing radiation. So we basically wanted to study this group. So starting in 2012, we have been visiting the islands, I think, 4 times already.
Okay, nice.
And also Chile to look for outgroups. So actually, we just went to Chile, to the southern part of Chile this last, when was that? In February, March. Okay. That was great. That's amazing. That's another amazing place, Chile. But these islands in particular are quite an experience. I would say it's both a natural and sociological experience, because they are remote. It's only one village. Only people that live there is in one single village in this Robinson Crusoe. And in the other island, there is no permanent village. There's only a temporal village. I think during 8 months a year, the inhabitants of Robinson Crusoe are allowed to go to Selkirk, basically to fish a lobster. The whole economy of the island is based on lobster fishing, and they actually deliver to restaurants all over, actually alive. They mostly send them to Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, so the whole economy of the place is based on these lobsters. So basically, 85% of the people, I guess, is fishing lobsters, and the rest of the people are just providing some services for them. So it's quite a place. It's quite a place. It's difficult to arrive there, but still there's a regular flight to Robinson Crusoe, but it's super expensive. So it's not. And when you're there, you really felt quite isolated, because after there's not a whole lot of tourism because it's very expensive and there are not so many things to do. But the place is amazing. It's really incredible. Yeah, small tiny island. Yeah.
Must be one
and
of
then
the
going
most
to Selkirk.
places on Earth.
It's not remote in terms of how far it is, because
No, no.
Hawaii is much far away from everything else. But you really feel you are in the middle of nowhere because it's more difficult to arrive.
Hmm.
And again, I mean, there's flights going to Robinson, but to go to Selkirk, you basically have to rely either on some fishing boat that goes there,
Yeah.
or there is a merchant boat, a big ship that goes like once a month to provide supplies for these people.
Okay.
So it's quite a challenge. And actually, we've been there 4 or 5 times, but we only managed to go to Selkirk twice. And that was basically like, convincing some fisherman to take us there. But going with a fishing boat, it takes you about 8 to 9 hours to go to the island. It's an
Mm.
overnight. And, yeah, we have a lot of stories of basically, going through, from one island to the other, these 8 hours, like basically, as my colleague was always saying, feeding the fishes, because basically you start like vomiting after 5 minutes, maybe, that you are
Oh.
there, moving up and down, and then you try to sleep, and it's really impossible. Then you have to go down to the to well, this one room is used for to sleep, but also to store stuff, to put
Hmm.
lobsters. So it's not the perfect spot to have a proper nap. But anyway, it's quite an experience.
So you're
So the
sleeping with
first
the
time actually,
lobsters. Yeah.
yes, even with a lobster. Well, actually, when we're going towards there, they are empty because basically what they do is they go to the Celtic Island
Hmm.
to load the lobsters and then go back to deliver them by plane. But that was this time, the first time I actually went to Selkirk. Yeah, that's an amazing place because the island is as big as the other one, but basically there's only this temple village, which probably about 200 people, no more than that,
Hmm.
and the whole island is empty. So basically, it's only like people from the village that spend, what they
Yeah.
like to do when they are not fishing, when they have some free time, where they go up to the mountains to hunt goats.
Okay.
So interestingly, these goats, which are also a pest because basically they are eating
Yeah.
everything there,
Yeah.
they were introduced. So basically, the islands were discovered by this Portuguese sailor. I think he actually was working by the Spanish Armada. So they discovered these islands, and basically the Spaniards, the colonizadores, they were using these islands kind of a stepping stone to go,
Hmm.
from Chile towards Peru.
Ah, yeah.
And basically what they did, and that's something they used to do commonly with these islands that they were not very interested in colonizing, is they free porks, they free
Yeah.
goats to have food, fresh food when they come back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was the origin of these goats. And by the way, that's very interesting. It turns out these goats belong to a race, to a breed that they already disappeared in Spain. So
Oh,
in a
cool.
way, they also have some kind of conservation interest and cultural interest.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of NGOs, conservation NGOs, have been trying to get rid of the goats because I mean they're basically eating
They,
all the endemic vegetation.
yeah.
But then you get in conflict with the local people because for the local people, culturally speaking, the goats are important because it's hunting goats is like a big thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's exactly the same situation in Hawaii. When I was in Hawaii, it's the same happened with the wild pigs. They
Mm.
had these pigs. The pigs went feral. They basically introducing all kind of introduced plants into the forest because they eat the plants and they
Yeah.
kind of like poop in the forest and then you have all the seeds. So and they are trying to control the population and then the locals they don't want to even hear about getting rid of the pork because
Mm.
I mean part of the
Yeah.
culture has to do with hunting the pork
Yeah.
in the case of Juan Fernandez, they call. But anyway, we went to this to Selkirk. So we're going with people from the CONAF, which is the governmental agency that takes care of conservation.
Hmm.
So the rangers actually were helping us there and providing guidance through because they are not really kind of trails. Basically, it's all you walk around places that people know more or less where to go through. I
Yeah.
went to get, to go up to the mountain to do some collecting up there. So we went with this guy, and we were basically, walking up because basically that's just a mountain. It's a big volcano, so you have to, keep walking and going up.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, we decided to stop in this place and to put together to mount the tents to spend the night there because we were doing night collecting. And the time say, okay, well, I'm going to leave you here, guys. You do your stuff, and I'm going to go and take a walk. Well, the guy was carrying a rifle, of course, so the guy went to hunt for goats.
Okay.
So, off he goes. We were standing there, again, mounting the tent and doing some collecting. And after a couple, I mean, we actually heard, a couple of like shots. And after an hour or so, the guy shows up with two goats, kind of like tied up, dead,
Yeah.
carrying on his shoulders,
Oof.
coming to us. And the guy was like, "Do you guys have some knife or something?" And my colleague Gustavo, he had like this Swiss Army knife. I said, "Yeah, I have that." "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." He takes the guy, gets one of the goats, he hangs the goat from a tree, and he skins the goat with a freaking jacket, Swiss Army jacket. We were like in shock. We were like, "No kidding me." I mean, you leave me here with a goat, I wouldn't know what to do with that. So the guy just like kind of skinned the goat, remove everything, remove all the cleaning. Apparently, there's a symbiosis there because by the time he was doing that, there were a couple of endemic hawks of this
Oh.
island. They were already sitting there, waiting because they know that the hunters are gonna remove the internal organs. They're gonna throw them away, so they actually are feeding on that.
Ah.
Yeah, the guy got the goat ready, prepared. The next day, when we walked down, he actually was carrying the skinned goat.
Yeah.
The next day, we actually took the fishing boat back. The guy was with us. And in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the sea, he actually prepared a barbecue and he barbecued the goat. So that was our lunch for the next day. Yeah, so that was quite an experience as well.
I imagine it was a very good goat.
Oh no, that was actually that was amazing. You have to feel sorry about that poor goat, but that was. But I was saying you before, that's part of this. I don't call it cultural, but sociological experience. You go through that. And because as a urbanite, because I was born and grew up in a big city, and when you have these opportunities, really, if you imagine yourself, you get marooned in an island, and the only thing you have is like a machete, let's say, and you have to provide food for yourself. We will be so helpless. I will be so helpless. And this guy was skinning a freaking goat with a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, which is a tiny little knife like that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Providing, so you really, you have to survive. But you really feel like you don't belong there. You even last 2 hours in any of these places.
And that is very cool to see, right? That people can still live like that.
Oh yeah. I'm talking. These people have, all the commodities where they are, but they know their the surrounding. They know the nature. They know what how to provide. Let's say, food and stuff. Again, that was quite amazing. There was another very nice story, and then just to change a little bit of the perspective, but also has to do with this kind of connection, with the past.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, some of the collecting we're doing in these islands, we're basically following the track, following the places that were visited in the 50s by this guy. He was called Boris Malkin.
Okay.
He was a guy born in Hungary, and during the 50s, 60s, he was hired by the American Museum as a professional collector. So basically, the guy will go to places funded by the American Museum to collect, everything. He was mostly focused on bugs, on insects mostly, but he did a lot of spider collection. So some of the actually species that we were after were collected by him in the 50s, and they were stored at the American Museum, and then somebody else in the 70s, in the 90s, early 90s, actually studied them and described the species, and that was how we started to get into that.
Right.
But this guy was like a hero for us, because all the time we were like, oh, no, we have to go to this locality that Boris visited. And you have to think, the 50s, going to this particular place, it takes you like, even if it's small, tiny islands, it would take you like a day to go there because you have to go up and down volcanoes, cross for like very deep forests, very steep places. And this guy is our freaking hero. So I know we were in this Selkirk again in this island, and we were like talking with some of the fishermen, and one of the guys all the time say, "Oh no, I heard about that. My mom was mentioning about this Boris guy."
Oh.
And actually, this guy Fernando and somebody else, they actually went with Boris to the field. What?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we went to look for these guys, and effectively, these guys actually they were in his 80s or something like that, still fishing. And when they were like 10 years old, something like that, they actually went with Boris to some of these places with Malkin. So
wow.
It was kind of it was kind of like some mystical, experience for us, like getting in touch with somebody that we were, that actually helped our hero, Boris Malkin.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that was another remarkable thing. Right. Absolutely. Huh. But this part of the thing, when you do this kind of you're visiting these places, when you're especially when you're off the track, because
Mm-hmm.
you can do a lot of traveling, you can visit places as a tourist, and that's great, and it's really exciting. The good thing of doing field work is you get to go to places and contact people that is complete off the beaten path,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and this is yeah, you all the time have these kind of experiences with actually kind of like return everything you have
I
invested
mean,
in terms of
that is,
resources.
I mean, that is a very remote place, and that's an amazing connection, of
Yeah,
course, to talk
yeah,
to those people. But in my experience, even when you are in very touristic places, if you're after animals, you go to places that tourists don't go.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
But believe it or not, I've been working a lot in the Canary Islands. I will tell you before. I've been probably
yeah.
I don't know 20 times in Canary Islands. I have never ever in my life go to the beach. I mean, I've been twice, but just for collecting spiders.
Yeah, okay,
I've
okay.
never actually swim in the Canary Islands, which when I talk with some of my friends, just like
Mm.
what's wrong with you? But
Yeah.
yeah, this is how
No, I
focused we
mean,
are.
oh no, you don't go to I have been to the beach in the Canary Islands. Don't go.
No,
Don't
that's
go.
not the best, the most remarkable place for beaches. I have to say.
No, but it's amazing. Just the barrenness of them
Yeah.
is quite amazing, and
Mm.
I can only imagine that those islands around Chile are even more, and especially if you come from Robinson Crusoe Island, um,
Yeah.
the isolation is already in the name, right? Um,
The funny thing is that this is not the original names of the islands. So
mm,
the islands were originally named Más Adentro and Más Afuera, which is
uh-huh.
the closest and the farther away from the continent. But then I think it was in the 70s or in the 80s, the tourist office of the Chilean government decided that was not catchy enough for tourism, so they replaced their names by Robinson Crusoe, which because actually, I mean, I forgot to mention that, but these actually are the islands where Robinson Crusoe, the novel of William Dafoe, is based on.
Hmm. Yeah,
So the history is based on this Scottish sailor, which is Alejandro Selkirk, the
yeah,
name that was
yeah,
named after the other island. And he was marooned in these islands in the I think it was in the 18th century.
yeah, yeah.
And the other interesting thing is that Selkirk was not. I mean, he was not marooned there because he sank his boat. Something like that. No, no. They couldn't stand him, so they kicked him out from the boat.
Yeah, yeah, I
So that's how bad is that?
know.
So of course, Dafoe had to make some changes to make the character a little bit more appealing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what do you have to do to to be kicked off a
To be
boat?
exactly to be kicked off a ship. So yeah. So apparently he was not the most popular guy there.
Ah, amazing, amazing. Yeah, yeah. It sounds like, yeah, you have been to some amazing, amazing places. Are
Yeah.
there any places that you still have on your list?
Always. I mean, that's that's the reason to keep doing what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, next thing is not so so exotic. We have a project now where we're gonna be doing a lot of similar to what I was explaining you about the Panama. We're doing this standardized sampling
Hmm.
in plots for doing comparisons of spider communities across big gradients. In this particular case, we will be focusing on spider communities in cork oak forest, which, as
Oh,
you know, is a forest typical from the western Mediterranean.
yeah.
So basically, we're gonna be mid-May to mid-June. We're gonna be in the field. We're gonna be visiting these plots, which are distributed all over the Iberian Peninsula, and Spain mostly.
Yeah.
But will be, basically there are 24 plots. So we're gonna do it 2 years. We're gonna visit 12 plots this year, 12 plots next year, and
Uh-huh.
this is basically driving all around the peninsula. The Iberian Peninsula is about 405,000 kilometers of driving altogether. So it's the whole
Yeah.
tour. And basically we're gonna every day we'll be collecting one of these plots. And the idea here again is we'll be trying to find out how environmental changes, most of them actually related to human activity, both in terms of
Hmm.
climatic change, but also in terms of taking profit of this cork oak
Yeah.
forests, mostly because of the cork, but also because they use sometimes to feed the this special brand of breed of Iberian pig
Yeah.
for jamon. So basically, there are forests that has been like traditionally quite exploited, and then you have all these different gradients of very open forest or very close forest that has not been, used in the last decades, but also forests that are continuous, like mostly in the southwest Spain and Portugal,
Yeah.
or like small pockets, like for example in northern Spain. There are places actually where I was not even aware that were cork oak forests, like in the Basque Country, for example.
Oh,
So in the Basque Country, you have like 5 hectares of cork oak forest.
should be very
It should
different. It's
be
very much wetter there.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So it offers us great opportunity to see, how these different, climatic gradients, but also the use by humans may affect, in this case, spider communities. So yeah, that's what comes next.
That
Which
sounds like an
again is
amazing
not,
road trip. Yeah.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
it's not exotic, but it's going to be amazing
Yeah.
for food, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, and after there are some beautiful places, I have to say, in the
Mm,
Iberian
of
Peninsula,
course. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you're well aware of. So yeah, that's
Nice.
what's coming next. So yeah.
That's and people want to keep an eye on you and find out what you're doing. Where do they go? Where we can find?
Yeah, we keep this Twitter and Instagram accounts where we,
Okay.
when we go to the field, we try to upload some pictures.
Oh, great.
If I can provide you with a link,
Yes,
maybe.
I'll put it in the description of this podcast. So if you're listening and
Yeah,
you want to see what
I
Mikel's up
will
to,
send you right. Uh, this is the spider cyst from systematics Evo from Evolution. So this is you can find us there in both
okay.
Twitter and Instagram. I mean, sometimes we're not so active, but especially when we go to the field, we always try to upload some pictures and make some comments, so they can track us there.
At Spider Sis Evo. All right.
Right.
And Sis is with a Y. All right. All right,
Yeah.
Mikel. Thank you very much for your amazing stories.
Well,
I knew you
that
would
was a
have some.
real, yeah, that was a real pleasure, and congratulations on this initiative. It's really amazing. I mean,
Oh,
I think you're doing a terrific job. So
thank
yeah,
you. I'm glad
that
you're
was a real
enjoying it.
pleasure.
And
Absolutely.
catch you very soon
Yeah.
because we're both on a defense committee.
Right.
And we'll
Right.
speak in real life. But for now, thank you very much. And until next time.
Thank you, Eric.